Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I'm Carol Mitchell, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Joining us now is Nate Derenge. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. Before we talk about your 2024 general election campaign to represent Ward 8 on the Council of the District of Columbia, please tell the viewers a little bit about your background and who you are.
Thanks, Carol. My name is Nate Derenge. I grew up in South Dakota, but I came to the DC area over a decade ago to intern for a congressman. Still in DC, been in the Fairlawn residence neighborhood for about 8-9 years now, and currently working as a federal contractor. And so I've been in the ward. I've run for this role as Ward 8 council member 4 years ago, and also for chairman of council 2 years ago. So I'm just here to support Ward 8 and push for policies that'll bring about better governance and better human flourishing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Nate. Now, you have previously ran for elected office, as you just said, including running for chairman of the DC Council and Ward 8 council member. Why did you decide to run this year in particular?
I'm always running just out of principle. So for a lot of people, well, most of DC is Democrats. The Democratic presidential nominee gets 90% of the votes every 4 years, and so I recognize people on the conservative side of the political spectrum usually have no one for whom they can vote. And so I'm running for those people, those independent thinkers who think that the Democratic policy is not the best way to run a city. So usually I'm not running to win. I'm running just to be an alternative, to increase the diversity of thought, to share some ideas that a limited government may be the best way to have a happy population and to fight poverty. And so I'm just running for those principles of limited government and just better policy. And so that's originally why I ran again this time. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay, great. So, to follow up a bit on the things that you touched on, what are your three top issues?
Well, my new issue is I'm not Tran White, who was recently arrested on federal bribery charges. And so at the time of this interview, he's still on the ballot. And I'm an alternative to him who has, I think, objectively, we can say, a better criminal record. And someone who's like maybe Tran started out really clean, but maybe something changed him. But he's got quite a record of corruption now. He owes the Office of Campaign Finance $57,000 still from his mayoral run, where he took all that taxpayer money and never showed receipts. And then he took over $100,000 to benefit himself from the Violence Interrupters program. And so this guy's he's dirty. I know people love him, but he's not a good role model, and he's really just been using his office to enrich himself. And just in general, he's really bad with money. He shouldn't be in any places of power. And I'm someone who claims to be better than him in those areas. So that's the number one reason why I'm running and why I'm currently the only person on the ballot who hasn't been arrested by the FBI. And my other reasons why I'm running include just some of the policies. I think my housing policy is pretty radical, but I think it'll do a lot to stop the generational poverty. Currently, the housing policy, much like the Violence Interrupter program, is full of grift and full of inefficiencies and really needs to get a lot smaller. We have a lot of people just renting units, and they're being mismanaged really poorly. I'd like to see a lot more home ownership in the ward, but that's really hard to do when the district is owning all the property. District needs to sell the property off and sell it to the residents who live in those units at a very steep discount. That'll help the residents get out of poverty, stay out of poverty, and build generational wealth, because it won't be the district holding all the assets. I want these assets to go to the people, not the district. Those are my top two issues. I'll say my third issue is just general government spending. The violence interrupters that enriched Tran so much is an awful program. It's the reason why Devon McNeil is dead. He was just a middle schooler, and he was attending a peace picnic that his mom hosted for the Violence Interrupters program. And he got shot by a stray bullet. These programs are awful. They killed Devon McNeil, and Trayon didn't stop it. And now we know why. It's because he was getting rich off of it, and all these other contractors were getting rich off this program. And the system doesn't want to stop these programs that are killing people like Devon McNeil. So that's why I'm running. I'm anti-corruption. I'm smaller government. I want the riches to go to the people, not to the government.
Noted. And as you have noted before, registered Republicans are a small minority in DC, and it's been well over a decade since a Republican has been elected to the DC Council. So why are you a Republican?
So I'm a Republican because of the principles of having a smaller government is better for a society. I think a lot of the ailments that we see in DC, all the murders, the poverty, and the criminality, a lot of this stems from, I believe, having government programs in a bigger government. So a lot of times when people start depending on the government for their sustenance and for their needs, they stop depending on themselves and other intermediating organizations. So I think that a lot of our generational poverty is coming from things like public housing, where people are provided housing at a discounted rate, and then that lowers their ability to be independent and to be productive. And so just in general, I'm a Republican because I don't like it when the government gets big and has the resources, and that has second order effects of letting other organizations like businesses and nonprofits, like those resources can't go to those other intermediating organizations. So I just want a smaller government so the resources can be with the people and not with the government.
Great, thanks. I'm sure that's going to be really useful information for the voters as they go in to make their decision. So are you for or against Initiative 83?
Initiative 83, as I understand it, is ranked choice voting. It's when we have a bunch of different candidates and you rank your choices. I want me as number 1, Trayon as number 2, and then a write-in for number 3. And I think it's a cool idea, and it sounds, and I think it sounds like a great idea philosophically. However, I think it's also a little bit complicated. It's pretty much like a caucus, is how I understand it. So if someone doesn't get 50% of the votes, and then the person at the bottom of the list gets cut, and the people whose votes got cut, their second choice gets the first vote. And I think it's a cool idea. I like it, but I think it'd be really hard to implement. No one else in America implements it. And so my preference is to not have it, but I do think it's a neat thought.
Awesome, awesome. Great to hear your thoughts on that. Now, why do you think that you are the best choice for Ward 8 voters this year?
Probably the main one is that I haven't been arrested by the FBI on bribery charges. I think that usually I'm a policy first guy. Like I put character as a secondary thing. I want to know how someone will govern, how someone will do the job. I don't care about what they look like or some other behaviors. I care about policy. Trans policies have been pretty awful for the ward. He's been in for at least 8 years, and the ward hasn't improved in those metrics that I mentioned earlier with the murders and the poverty. And but also in this case, this guy's he's using the system to benefit himself, and he really needs to take a pause and fix himself. He needs to repent and and get himself together, because what he's doing now, taking money from these contractors for these that are running these programs that get people like Devon McNeil killed, he needs to stop. So I think I'm the best candidate, because not only are my policies better, but also I think I have a clean record and a clean conscience and clean hands. And Trayon claims he has clean hands, but we all know that regrettably we can't trust him because that was a lie.
Well, jumping off of that, your opponent has been accused of several things recently, including not being a resident of Ward 8. Do you think he should be removed from the ballot, and are you doing anything to push for that to happen?
It is so regrettable that this didn't come up in the Democratic primary. he had two Democratic primary challengers, Salima Delfel, Rockmont Branch, who raised a lot of money, spent a lot of money on teams going door to door, but never challenged Trayon. At the forums, there's only one time where there was a question that was where the candidates were allowed to attack Trayon. A lot of the forums, I was told, don't attack your opponents. You need to just focus on yourself, because that's what the moderators of the forum wanted, and I respected those. But just in general, Trayon got a pretty soft glove primary where people were afraid to attack him because his base is so strong in Ward 8. So first, I blame the Democratic Party, Salima Delfel, Rockmont Branch, for not bringing this up in the primaries. Because this information was hidden, that's why we have this mess now. And that's probably not what the Democrats of Ward 8 want. The Democrats of Ward 8 are going to have two of their primary victors off the ballot, because Joe Biden's not on the ballot due to competence. And now Trayon White isn't on the ballot due to his legality. It will be, if he gets charged, it will be illegal for him to serve. And so, first, I just regret that the Democrats didn't clean up themselves in the primaries, and they just allowed this behavior to happen, and they allowed him to have a public failure like he's having now. This should have been cleaned up way earlier. In regards to where we are now, I see a lot of activity on the internet of people trying to figure it out. The address is in Ward 6. It is single member district 8F04, but it is Ward 6F. Trayon should know better, but we all know now that he's been lying to us about his morals and how he works for God and does the Lord's work. And he knew, he should have known better. There's a lot of things about him that we're finding out, and we really have known this for a while. But anyway, that's what should have happened. I'm going to contact the Board of Elections to see what we can do, because they've worked with me in the past on cleaning up voting related stuff. So I'll submit an email, see what happens.
Okay, great. Well, that's really an interesting path forward. And so this is also something, obviously, that the voters are going to decide at the end of the day. So can you tell us when voting begins?
Voting begins a few weeks prior to the election, which is November 5th. You should get a ballot at your address. You'll probably get a bunch of ballots for other people at your address who may not live there, based on my experience with the voter rolls. You can see some of the work I've done on cleaning the voter rolls at nateward8.com when I removed 1,700 names. We had hundreds of people living in the same Watergate PO box in Ward 2, and there's a lot of other interesting things I found when I took a look at that little adventure earlier this year. But yeah, you can check out my blog post. But yeah, voting happens it'll be October. You'll get your ballot in the mail. There's a bunch of early voting locations. You can do a drop box. There are multiple ways to vote, and I hope people, it's in the words of Trayon, use their intelligence.
Awesome. Now, please tell our viewers how they can learn more about you and how to support your campaign.
Well, my website is nateward8.com. You can see my X handle is nateward8. Then I got my Truth Social handle right there as well. A lot of people tell me, they say, hey, Nate, this Trayon just got arrested. You need to raise big money. You need to nationalize this. You need to just break in big money from this because you can. And I tell them all the time, I say, no, we need to get the money out of government. We need to get the money out of politics. If God wants me to win this, and then I'll win it. But I just gotta do the right thing. I'm sounding like Trayon, but I'm actually believing it right now. But I'm not taking anybody's money. My campaign isn't for sale. And if you do like me, you can take my posts from nateward8.com and you can share them on your social media. And that's how you can support me. Or you can send me a nice note or comment on my website. But that's the type of support I'm receiving. And you can knock on doors. If you live in Ward 8, vote for Nate. That's my message.
Great, thanks. So I wish you all the best. And viewers, please look in the description below for links. Thanks so much for spending time with us, Nate.
Oh, you're welcome, Carol. It's a good time.
To those watching, Please follow Team Rayceen on social media and click around our YouTube channel and check out our other interviews, vlogs, forums, and more.
And viewers, thank you for watching.